Coming to you live from our headquarters in Auckland Park, this is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories making headlines this evening.
I want to emphasize the fact that there was no loyalty bonus.
Suspended Ekurhuleni Municipality legal head found himself backed into a corner after he failed to provide an explanation for his failure to act on Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi's pending expiry of his suspension. Meanwhile, private investigator Paul O'Sullivan will finally testify in person tomorrow before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system.
It's quite important for us to have a partnership on critical minerals. Africa must talk with one voice.
And Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe has cautioned continental leaders against the unilateral approach to critical minerals, saying this will lead to losses rather than anticipated gains. It's Monday, 8 o'clock. A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Prime News on 3. My name is Paulette Nell and an absolute pleasure it is to be in your company this evening as we bring you up to speed with the latest developments, including in sports and the latest weather. With that said, let's dive right in, beginning with this. This leads our bulletin tonight. A now suspended Ekurhuleni Municipality legal head, Advocate Kemi Bahari, found himself backed into a corner after he failed to provide an explanation for his failure to act on Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi's pending expiry of his suspension. The Madanga Commission suggested that when the issue was flagged with him, Bahari created more red herrings, which resulted in Mkhwanazi's suspension expiring and later returning to work amid unresolved allegations.
Suspended Ekurhuleni Municipality legal head, Advocate Kemi Bahari, has come under fire for his handling of a request by Colonel Henny Erasmus for advice on the looming expiry of Deputy EMPD Chief, Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi's suspension. Instead of dealing with the said request, Bahari effectively went into the merits and said the case against him is not sustainable, raising questions from the Commission's bench.
I understand your emphasis about your concern being compliance. You've said that umpteen times, and you said it even before Ms. Sigurd started engaging you. You emphasize that. But point is, the Colonel comes to you for specific advice on an impending expiry of the suspension. Why do you not deal with that?
Bahari charges that this compliance approach was to close any gaps. However, a suggestion is posed from the Commission's bench that this was to allegedly ensure that there was no progress on the matter, as narrow issues existed which warranted the disciplining of Julius Mkhwanazi. The Commission has previously heard that Bahari and his counterpart, suspended HR head Linda Kashega, were handsomely rewarded with the loyalty bonuses for the alleged shielding of Mkhwanazi, an allegation Bahari denies.
I want to emphasize the fact that there was no loyalty bonus. There was no way the matter was portrayed in before the Commission and in all the media, that we received something which would look at corruption.
The hearings continue. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Pretoria.
Meanwhile, private investigator Paul O'Sullivan will finally testify in person tomorrow before the ad hoc committee separately investigating the same allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. Initially, O'Sullivan requested to testify virtually, citing security concerns, but the committee was having none of that and wanted National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza to subpoena him.
After weeks of uncertainty about the status of the appearance of O'Sullivan, the committee says he will testify in person. O'Sullivan is accused of wielding unlawful influence at SABC, IPID and the NPA, including the impersonation of an IPID officer. The committee says his security concerns have been addressed.
We want to thank the legal team and the security team of Parliament when we met in our last meeting to say that they must continue to engage with him and show him the security arrangements that Parliament has put in place. That, those are the security arrangements that Parliament normally makes when the head of state come here or ministers come here, members come to Parliament, including guests that will come to Parliament.
National Assembly Speaker Thoko Didiza has welcomed this outcome, adding that her understanding is that further engagements are continuing with Brown Mogotsi.
And should further engagement not yield the necessary outcome, the Speaker will be advised by the ad hoc committee so that the issuing of a summons may be considered.
Meanwhile, the committee says it will approach Didiza's office for a third extension. It says, due to the work of Parliament, such as the State of the Nation address later this week and the tabling of the national budget, it needs more days to complete its witness list as well as finalizing its report. Lula Mamatya, SABC News, Parliament.
In other news, an application for a postponement by evidence leaders in the Nkabinde inquiry has been opposed by legal representatives for suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke. The evidence leaders requested a postponement to next week, citing the absence of key witnesses. They also stressed that a legal counsel for Advocate Shamila Batohi were appointed yesterday only. However, they did not indicate when Batohi would be called to testify.
The application for postponement to Tuesday, the 17th of February 2026 is dismissed. The counter-application launched by Advocate Chauke's team is granted subject to the necessary modification of the relief sought in the notice of motion. 1.3. Advocate Chauke will open his case and commence with leading evidence on Thursday, the 12th of February 2026. 1.4. Advocate Chauke will call Advocate Maema to testify on 12th February 2026.
Shift our focus to this now. President Cyril Ramaphosa has described the late Bishop John Bolana of the Bantu Church of Christ as a religious leader who was always calm, supportive, and a visionary. Ramaphosa is currently visiting the Bolana family following his passing last Tuesday after a short illness, aged 82. He says he got to know the bishop during the COVID-19 pandemic, as he was one of the leaders who participated in addressing the challenges related to the disease.
I am saddened that this voice of reason, voice of knowledge, has now departed from amongst us. He was one of those religious leaders who was always calm, who was also a visionary, who was very supportive, not only to the work that I did as president, but as a government. And he always asked piercing questions about many things that we do in government, and always offered his voice, his advice, and his counseling. He was one of those great counselors who each time you engaged with him had great words of wisdom. So I'm going to miss him greatly.
When we return, the annual Africa Mining Indaba got underway today at the Cape Town International Convention Center. More on this after the break. Welcome back. In more news with your attention this evening, Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe has cautioned continental leaders against the unilateral approach to critical minerals, saying this will lead to losses rather than anticipated gains. He delivered an opening address at the 2026 Investing in African Mining Indaba at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. The 4-day annual event has gathered miners, government officials and financiers under the theme Stronger Together, Progress through partnerships.
Every mineral is critical. Every mineral is critical. So this thing of critical minerals is a nice to have, but a mineral is critical everywhere because everything you have here, you either grow it or you mine it. If you don't mine it, you grow it. If you don't do both, it will not exist. So it's quite important for us to have a partnership on critical minerals. Africa must talk with one voice. Our objective is clear: deepen collaboration, accelerate responsible exploration and mining, and ensure that Africa captures greater value of its own mineral endowment.
Challenges that we have relate to electricity. As you know, load shedding is done, but we still have electricity costs that are challenged. We're not getting the kind of exploration that we need also as an industry, and we've still got to sort out logistics. So those are some of the constraints, but we really do think on the regulatory side also we're turning that circle to try to make South Africa a lot more of an investable industry so that it can grow.
The lawyer representing the second accused, the trigger man in the assassination of Warwick DJ Warras, says his client has intentions to plead guilty and has abandoned his bail. He appeared for a second time in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. 25-year-old Mozambican national Armindo Joaquim Pacula's case has been postponed to 11 February when he is scheduled to appear alongside his other accused, Victor Majola.
The address which the defense provided the state with was visited, and the accused stays at the informal settlement somewhere in Jamestown. So no one was found at the said informal settlement. It's a check. So the identity document which the accused handed into the investigating officer, it is not a South African identity document. It is a Mozambican identity document. So at this stage, the accused, he is illegal in the country.
He informs me, that in the circumstances, that the address is negative and he is illegal in the country. He is abandoning bail. Furthermore, he is informing me, that there is a possibility of a plea in this matter.
Now, the Gauteng Education Department has urged parents and learners to bear with them as they try to find a workable solution to the impasse with the Gauteng Small Bus Operators Council, or GASBOC. Members of the council have not been operating since last week Monday, leading to approximately 200,000 children being stranded.
Long queues were evident in the morning as learners were scrambling to find transport to school. According to parents and learners, this dilemma started last week. They are urging government to urgently intervene.
You can imagine 4 years old walking from a distance. Some they are getting lost. So we are frustrated because they cannot catch up. The time is going, the 1st of March they will be writing exam.
Gauteng Small Bus Operators Council says they have not been paid since November and will not transport children until all outstanding monies have been cycled.
Transport and school nutrition are poverty alleviation program, which are constitutional right for kids to have. And that's the challenge that we are having, that it seems as if our government doesn't take and acknowledge the constitutional right of these kids.
Meanwhile, GDE says it's hard at work to resolve the crisis, and discussions to get out of this challenge are underway.
We will be calling them again in an engagement where we're going to be explaining on the way forward on some of the issues that we would have raised and moving forward on how we're going to be working. But the commitment is to make the payments.
Mabona says there will be catch-up programs for those learners who are not attending classes due to non-availability of transport. Calvin Dludla, SABC News, Eguruleni.
Thank you for staying with us. The embattled Impendle local municipality in KwaZulu-Natal has once again been plunged into turmoil following the suspension of its mayor and speaker who were elected last Friday. The two posts had been vacant since July last year, triggering instability in the municipality. This resulted in delays in paying employees' salaries for several months.
The ANC says the four councillors defied a directive from the party. Last year in July, ANC councillors voted with opposition parties in a vote of no confidence against their mayor. Since then, the municipality has been without political leadership, prompting an intervention by the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, following reports of deficiencies in financial management by the Auditor General. The councillors again defied the party by electing a mayor and speaker, ignoring the candidates that was put forward by the provincial leadership. The ANC responded by suspending four councillors who were instrumental in the decision.
When the council that was held recently, the expectation from the ANC was from members of the ANC who are deployed in councillors to adhere to that directive of the National Executive Committee and all higher structures, including the provincial task team.
The ANC has also raised concerns about millions of rands in grant funding meant for essential services and disaster relief that were not used by the municipality.
We can assure you that there are a number of allegations that ought to be investigated.
Meanwhile, the suspended councillors remain defiant, arguing that the ANC does not have the authority to suspend elected representatives. They maintain that their mandate comes from the electorate and insist they will continue to serve their communities. I'm Nontlane Pamakwaza for SABC News in Durban.
Let's now take a look at your latest market update as recorded at 7:30 this evening. Now for your sports update, the South African men's cricket team gets its 2026 ICC T20 World Cup campaign underway in India. The Proteas take on Canada in Ahmedabad in their opening Group D fixture. According to Captain Adam Markram, they will be looking to start off the tournament strong and continue that momentum through to the playoffs.
Runners-up in the last edition of the Men's T20 World Cup in the United States and the Caribbean 2 years ago, the South Africans have a pretty good idea of how to navigate a tournament like this. The Proteas have been drawn in Group D, dubbed the Group of Death, alongside the Canadians, Afghanistan, New Zealand and the UAE. For skipper Aidan Markram, making a solid start to the tournament will be crucial.
I have faith in our team that if we put a really good game of cricket together, then we give ourselves a good chance at a good result, and that's sort of something you want to do in a competition like this. You want to start off really well and run with that moving forward.
The Canadians will be somewhat of an unknown quantity for the South Africans, having not played them much in recent years. But Markram is adamant that the gap between the full member and the associate nations is getting smaller, and that makes for a much more exciting tournament.
You look at the games that have already happened, upsets in previous World Cups have happened, and the gap between the associate nations now and the other countries has become a lot smaller. So in this format specifically, I think it takes one or two guys to have a really good day and an upset can happen, and the associate teams have been playing really well.
The match at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad starts at 3:30 p.m. South African time. Samantha Mari, SABC News.
Time now to see what the weather forecast has in store for us for tonight and tomorrow across various parts of South Africa. Let's send over to the weather desk for the details. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. We're seeing stable weather conditions across the central interior of South Africa tonight as a result of an upper air system resulting in stormy weather conditions over the Free State, some areas in the Northern Cape, into the Eastern Cape and the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, but clear weather conditions will persist for the rest of the night over the north and western parts of South Africa. Widespread rainfall is expected over the southern parts of the country in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, otherwise scattered over the central interior, with only a few passing thunder showers expected over the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal for tonight. And tomorrow is still expecting a similar weather pattern, starting off with some fog patches and drizzle as well over the eastern escarpment of Mpumalanga and Limpopo. Scattered rainfall once again for KwaZulu-Natal in the west and the northern interior of the Eastern Cape, and another band of isolated and scattered thunder showers across the central interior of South Africa. But further southwards, we're only expecting a slight chance of rainfall later on in the afternoon. For tonight, a level 4 warning is in place of some severe thunderstorms over the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the south coast of the Western Cape. Otherwise, a level 2 warning of some severe storms across the central interior and the southern parts of South Africa, including over the Eastern Cape, where localized flooding can be expected due to heavy rainfall. And for tomorrow, we're expecting a level 2 warning of some severe thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening over the Northern Cape, the Northwest, into the Free State and the northern interior of the Eastern Cape and the Drakensberg region of KwaZulu-Natal. And fell fires are also possible in Upington. Temperatures will be dropping to a minimum of 20 degrees in Upington, 19 in Cape Town, 21 in Gqeberha in East London. Similar conditions over Port St. John's. eThekwini will drop to 24. Here in Johannesburg, we're expecting a minimum of 15 and rising to 29 degrees in the afternoon. And scorching temperatures in Upington. Pleasant temperatures though throughout the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, but it is very hot and humid in the north coast with a maximum of 36 degrees over Richards Bay for tomorrow afternoon. And that is all from the weather desk.
And that's where we say goodbye for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's meet again next time. Good night for now. God bless. Pula.